For the second time this year, he's been indicted. And he has been indicted over allegedly mishandling classified documents. Earlier this year, if you recall, he became the first ex-president of the United States to be indicted when a Manhattan grand jury indicted him on more than 30 counts related to business fraud in the case arising from hush money payments. But the second indictment by special counsel Jack Smith is far graver and more sensitive since it comes from Biden's, meaning President Joe Biden's, Justice Department. The indictment was unsealed today, and Donald Trump is being charged with 37 felony counts related to over 100 classified documents federal agents recovered from his Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago. 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information and single counts of false statements and representations, conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding a document, corruptly concealing a document, and a scheme to conceal. First of all, let me be very, very clear. False statements mean nothing to me from Donald Trump. He makes them every day. It means nothing to me. All right, there's nothing new. I mean, if making false statements was a crime, he should have been arrested for getting out of bed. This brother makes false statements every time you check around. I mean, I'm very good. I'm very, very good. I mean, I've never made a mistake in my life. I'm the greatest, okay? False statements, misrepresentations, conspiracy to obstruct justice. Okay, that means you lied and you didn't want to tell the truth because you want to be resistant to prosecutors or law enforcement officials who wanted information. All right, that's fine. Here's the only thing I'm concerned about. National defense information. Retention of national defense information. National defense comes in a variety of forms. Comes in our military, comes with the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, comes with the CIA, Central Intelligence Agencies, spies, etc. The kind of information that the President of the United States has access to, you don't forget once you depart from office. And if you took the documents from D.C. to Florida and they requested to get him back and they requested to see him and all of this other stuff and you were reluctant to do so, we got a problem. We got a problem. But I'm not here to even talk about that today. I just wanted to articulate what that position is so everybody understands where I'm coming from, what we're talking about. Here's my biggest issue, and I said this last night when I appeared on Chris Cuomo's show, Cuomo on News Nation, where you can see him every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chris Cuomo, the guy that I think should be back at CNN, that I think CNN should be begging to come back because they haven't had any ratings since he departed. That Chris Cuomo. I was on his show last night, and I'm going to reiterate and regurgitate what I said to him. We all know that regardless of whatever level of substance and significance that is attached to these allegations that have been levied against the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, there is no denying that this is politically motivated. There's no denying it. You got some Republicans who are quietly wishing for him to go away. They want nothing to do with him at all. They wish he'd just go to hell away so they could stop being prisoners to his constituency because in too many places throughout this country, the former president that received over 74 million votes in the last election, that dude still got supporters that ain't going anywhere. And anybody that goes against them, they will hold it against them. We all know this. But forget them. It's the Democrats that better be worried. Because I keep telling y'all this about Donald Trump. He's many things. Stupid ain't one of them. And he's played many, many people like a fiddle. He knows what he's doing because he knows what he wants to do. He may not care about anything else. He may not know much of anything else. But he knows what he wants, and he knows what he wants to do, and he knows how to go about achieving it. And I'm telling you right now, all of these folks on the left who have played a significant role in bringing the tsunami of heat in his direction, you better close the deal. Because if this man ain't in a jumpsuit, behind bars, and he's still allowed to have a microphone and a camera in front of him wherever he goes, he's still allowed to collect campaign dollars, he's still allowed to run for the presidency of the United States of America, and you don't impede or inhibit his ability to do that, you've accomplished nothing. Nothing. I'm telling you. I'm telling you the truth. Before I go any further, let me show you what I mean. But when I highlight for you how he's already started, this is Donald Trump immediately upon learning that he was being indicted for the second time. Play this, please.
I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. Our country is going to hell, and they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax, but it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. But we're in a position where we're going to make America great again. I'm innocent, and we will prove that very, very soundly and hopefully very quickly. Thank you very much. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
Normally, I would laugh. I'd laugh hysterically. I'd laugh as if I was at a Martin Lawrence or Eddie Murphy or Cat Williams concert. Cat Williams is one of my favorites, by the way, even though I love me some Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence for life, and Chris Rock, by the way. But Cat Williams is a bad brother. I love seeing him in concert. He's hilarious. I would have laughed that hard watching Donald Trump literally associate himself with the word innocence. I would have laughed so hard once upon a time. But let me tell you why it's not funny any longer. Because a guilty verdict with Donald Trump, one that's significant enough to impede his ability to run for the presidency, is the only thing that would be acceptable. The manner in which the tsunami of allegations have come down, raining down upon him, like 37 different counts against him and all of this other stuff. The fact is that we have reached a point in our society where we have Donald Trump fatigue, but in the wrong direction of the Democrats. There's so much stuff aimed in his direction that if you don't get him, we're going to think you're full of shit. And as a result, they're going to say, as much ado about nothing, and everybody's going to accuse you of wasting our time. You got to get him. You got to get him at some point. Otherwise, they're going to interpret as him being innocent. They're not going to dissect and really break apart things like one of my producers, Michael Onofre, would do. Oh, they said he was guilty, and he's got to pay the $1 million fine or the $2 million fine. The list goes on. No, is he going to jail? I mean, even if he went to jail, he could still run for the presidency. But is he going to jail? If he ain't going to jail, even though if he did go to jail, he could still run for the presidency in this sick society of ours sometimes. Because nobody that's going to be incarcerated should be in a position to run the country from a prison. That's just ignorant. So I don't know where the hell that rule came from. Change it and get rid of it. But for the moment, the law on the book states you're 35, you've been a United States citizen for at least 14 years, and you live in the United States of America. I think that's the criteria. And in the event that that is the case, he can still run for president. The objective is to stop him. And one of the reasons we want to stop him, so the highest office in our land could have some decorum, some adultness, adulthood in the White House, rather than juvenile, petulant nonsense like this. My producer is late playing this. This is after he showed me the video to play it, by the way. But he's late showing it to me. I just don't understand it. He'll find it in a second. The petulance of Donald Trump knows no limits. Here's the latest.
a rather mocking video on social media. But there it is. It's you. I guess he's making fun of your weight. That's his. That's his response. What did you make of that? What was your response to that?
You know, when I saw Jake, it just renewed in my own mind what a child he is. He's a baby. Whenever you want to criticize him, in any way, that's the way he responds. And you and I are both lucky enough to be parents. And if we had a child who conducted themselves like that, we'd send them to their room, not to the White House.
Yeah.
And I think character is destiny for this country. And we've got to make a decision about what the character of the person should be who sits behind the desk in the Oval Office. And if they're going to do that kind of stuff, it doesn't even, it's so childish. It's so juvenile. He is such a spoiled baby that, beyond that, what can you even say about something like that that's that ridiculous? If we want to break news here today, I've struggled with my weight for about 20 years, like tens of millions of Americans.
The devil, you say.
Right, exactly. So he's breaking news there. He's telling people something they don't know. In the end, for me, it's about how you perform as a person.
Yeah.
What kind of heart you have. And I'll put mine up against his any day in the week.
Fair enough. That's Governor Chris Christie, former Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey, the only Republican I've ever voted for in my lifetime. And that was because I couldn't stand his opponent that he was running against, Representative Corzine, or Governor Corzine at the time. This is many years ago, of course. I know Governor Christie. He's a friend of mine. We get along very, very well. And although there's a couple of Democrats I would vote for in all likelihood ahead of him, if the great Bob Iger for Walt Disney decided to run for the presidency, I'd vote for him ahead of Christie. If Michelle Obama decided to run for the presidency, I might pick her over Christie. But I like him. And I tell you right now, he'll beat most Democrats. He'll beat most Democrats. He'd get my vote against most Democrats. Let me say this. Christie's right about the petulance. There's no doubt about that. But here's where I would challenge and push back on Governor Christie. It's not like it hasn't worked. Marco Rubio, who I had the pleasure of meeting for the first time this morning, because we were at the same studio together doing a hit for television. Marco Rubio, remember when Trump called him Little Marco? Remember one of the most hilarious moments in the history of presidential debates when Trump said, and excuse me, he also said I had little hands, as if to imply there were other things about me that were little. I can assure you that's not true. Believe me. I spit out my cereal the night that Trump did that. A presidential debate, and we're talking about folks' anatomy. This is what Trump does. Obviously, he was going to get on Chris Christie. He's already called them Crispy Christie and all of this other stuff. Remember what he did with Jeb Bush, low energy. Remember with Joe Biden, he called him Sleepy Joe. We know if it wasn't for the pandemic, Trump would have probably beat him because the economy was soaring. He got on Carla Fiorini so bad, you had Alec Baldwin imitating Trump on Saturday Night Live, asking, how do you feel about Carla Fiorini? She's a 4. That's what Alec Baldwin joked about. This is what Trump does, because by doing that, he doesn't have to get into a battle about the issues. It's a battle about A, personalities, and B, who's going to go on Capitol Hill and buck the system, and 3, who's going to make the American people best believe he's doing it for them instead of himself. That would be Trump. So going after Chris Christie is very predictable. The thing is, Chris Christie is a fighter. That dude's a gladiator. He'll get in the trenches and go after Trump, too. So we're going to see what happens and how things transpire. But I want to get back to my original point because I want to make sure that everybody hears this loud and clear, because I am not messing around. You better get them. Enough of these allegations that, equate to multi-million-dollar fines, where he still gets to roam the streets after violating laws, assuming that's what he did. You got to get them. If you don't get them, it's going to be politicized. Trump didn't sit up there and talk about the prosecutor's office. He didn't sit up there and talk about the federal government. He said the Democrats. He said the liberals. And he used phrases like destroying our country and hell in a handbasket. And all of a sudden, you got to look at all of these policies. You can talk about student loan debt being erased all you want to. You can talk about climate change being challenged aggressively all you want to. You can talk about all of that. You can talk about funds that were thrown in your direction during the pandemic. You could talk about stimulus package and rescue plans in the trillions. You could talk about infrastructure. You can talk about all of that. You know what Republicans are going to talk about? They're going to talk about inflation. They're going to talk about a recession. They're going to talk about violence in the streets. Questioning the safety of American citizens. They're going to talk about our borders. They're going to talk about immigration policy. They're going to talk about everything that they could get their hands on that'll make you ask the question, is Joe Biden the right man for the job? And then they're going to point out he's 82. And they're going to say he doesn't appear as cogent and lucid as we'd like our commander-in-chief to be. They're going to look at Kamala Harris and they're going to say middle America ain't feeling her. And you know what else they're going to point to? They're going to point to the world of business. Now, why would I bring that up? Because we're looking at a time right now. I'm a native New Yorker. There's two things in this world at this moment in time of my life I absolutely positively can't stand. I can't stand cold weather, and I can't stand exorbitantly high taxes. I personally believe every human being in the United States of America should go home with at least 50% of their money. Period. You should never go home with less than 50% of your money. I don't care where you're living at. Period. We want jobs. We don't want a recession to kick in, even though it appears to already had, crying out loud. We don't want all of that. And at some point in time, we ain't going to give a damn about charges against the guy that you can't seem to put behind bars, no matter how many number of charges you throw in his direction. At some point in time, you got to close. I cover the world of sports. You can sit up there and average 30 points a game. But if you can't finish when the game is on the line, you don't mean a damn thing. If you can't score a basket, if you can't throw a touchdown pass or catch a touchdown pass, if you can't hit a home run or even a base hit, if you can't do those things, we don't want to hear it. If you can't do those things when it counts, same applies to politics. You can sit up there and act like this isn't politicized all you want to and say you got to keep going after Trump, going after Trump, going after Trump. But at some point in time, you got to close. I have aspirations of being a producer, even though I'm already an executive producer on First Take. And obviously, this is my podcast, my show, and I'm the executive producer and owner of this. But when you do what we do and you pitch products to networks and stuff like that, at some point in time, everybody can't tell you no. Eventually, word's going to get out. Why the hell does this person keep hearing no? His projects must not be worth a damn. So I make sure to win. That's what the Dems have to do here. At some point in time, something's got to stick, and stick in such a way that he isn't even allowed anywhere back near the White House. I'm talking about Donald Trump. If you don't do that, you've lost. You've wasted people's time in their eyes. And if they feel like you've wasted their time, you might have folks on the fringes that's voting left or right, but the people in the middle, registered independents like me, is where it really is going to count. And you might have the fringes on the left, and you might have the fringes on the right, but middle America counts. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, places like that, it matters. You better do something. Red states are the red states. Blue states are the blue states. And if you're the blue states, oh, by the way, have you noticed some of the businesses flooding elsewhere? Away from these high tax states and going someplace else? Major companies, for example, that have left the state of California to go to a red state from the year 2020 to 2023. Hewlett-Packard, Tesla, Charles Schwab, Chevron Oracle, Kelly Moore Paints, McAfee, they went to Texas. Sendoza, Align Technology, and Homelight, they went to Arizona. Lucas Oil Products, they went to Indiana. Hyperion and Nixon went to Ohio. Kaiser Aluminum went to Tennessee. FICO, F-I-C-O, and Belong went to Montana. People ain't playing anymore. They're tired of hearing about how scared we should be about a particular candidate, so that's why you should vote for us. They want to know about your policies. They want to know about your vision for this country. They want to know that they're going to be able to keep more money in their pocket. And they're going to crawl back at least a touch from some of this woke ideology that's been permeating throughout this country. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. You don't have to ask me, damn it. I just told you. And I ain't guessing. I'm telling you what I know.